Here's a regular listener of City FM. She listens very regularly. She's listening for like 10 years. She says, "Good morning, Bernard and team. How are you? I'm listening to you guys from Dar es Salaam, TZ. TZ is not South East Tanzania." And she says it's 9:40 a.m. here. So I guess it was 6:40 when she sent this. So they are 3 hours ahead of us, right? Charlie, these people have bypassed us. Oh. I was here in 1999 as a student. I came back to work here in 98, 99. I was here in 91 as a student. Came back to work here in 98, 99. And I've now come on a visit a few times. Last time I was here was 2019. Impressive development. It turns out Magafuli was good for them. He goes on. What's the difference between us and them? They have values. Last night, my hostess, my sister, and I were talking about their sense of pride, love for country, their self-respect, respect for one another, and discipline. We don't have that in Ghana. Each one of us is for self. We only care about making money. You should see how clean the neighborhoods are, how uniform the roadside shops are, etc. No noise making, etc. We are joking in Ghana.
Oh.
These are not my words. Says last night, my hostess, my sister, and I were talking about their sense of pride, their love for country, their self-respect, respect for one another, and discipline. We don't have that in Ghana. Each one of us is for self. We only care about making money. You should see how clean their neighborhoods are, how uniform their roadside shops are, etc. No noise making. We are joking in Ghana. So Ghanaians, this is what a citizen of Ghana in Tanzania is saying. I want you to think about it. Just let it enter quietly. Think coolly about it. And the person is saying that they seem to have better values, or they are living out their values. And what is worrying for me is that the point around sense of pride and love for country, self-respect for one another, and discipline. And then it's manifested in clean neighborhoods, uniform roadside shops, and no noise making. And then he ends by saying that in Ghana we only care about making money and we love ourselves. We love self. It's a bit worrying. Don't react to it yet. Just think about it. I'll give you like 5 minutes to sip through, then we can come back to it. Okay. So let me do a few announcements. So this is what a Ghanaian citizen who's gone to Tanzania about 5 times is saying. So it's not like somebody who's just gone there once. All right. So the person is reflecting on Tanzania, having gone there since 1991. So obviously you've seen Rawlings, 98, 99. You've seen Kufuor enter. Now you see 2019, Akufo-Addo. Now we are in Mahama number 2. So we've had about 6 different presidents. And this person is saying Tanzania seems better organized, clean neighborhoods, uniform roadside shops, less noise. And the people say they love their country. They have self-respect. And they are more disciplined. You know. I always tell you that sometimes when you want to know people's values, look at their streets. If you want to know people's mindsets, look in their gutters. Get it? Because you cannot unlock a person's brain to see how he thinks. But if you look, I always tell people, if you enter somebody's room, you can know how their mind works. So sometimes when you see the way Ghana is, and this person is saying, when I look at the way the streets are, no noise, the respect for other people's rights, and you compare that to Ghana, you know. So let's think about it small. I don't want to say, no, you people, every day you are talking negative about Ghana. I think that the only thing we haven't changed in Ghana after many years is our values. We've changed presidents, we've changed parties, we've changed all kinds of things. So I think the values conversation is very strong. The reason this has caught my attention, I was talking to some guy this week. This is an IT guy. And we're discussing how he's been dealing with these anti-corruption people for like 20 years. And I was talking about how open data tools for fighting corruption, they've used a lot of those tools. They do hackathons. They've tried to bring in systems to reduce waste in governance. And he was saying that he's done this job for 20 years at the highest level. Won hackathons, come up with programs to track government expenditure, to ensure people are less corrupt. Then he ended up and said, Bernard, I've realized after 20 years that you can't use technology to change people's mindset. So you can't use technology to change people's attitudes. So you realize that although all those World Bank programs have been good, open governance, Osiwa, there are people who have done a lot of work. He said, I've realized that the problem with Africans, and this guy is talking not as a Ghanaian, he said the problem with West Africans, he thinks that technology cannot solve it. Because the software is corrupted. So the technology solution can only patch the papers. So let's think about it. I also want you to think about this Tanzania situation from history. Because when Tanzania got independent, they went socialist. So Kenya became a bit more open and capitalistic. So you compare the Mwalimu to Uhuru Kenyatta. And some people felt that because Tanzania chose Swahili as their national language, they were left behind because they were colonized by the Germans. And Kenya was seen more as the modern choice. They speak English. They are more facing of global realities. Tanzania became a bit closed as a society. But I think after 50, 60 years, and she's not the only person telling me about this. I've had friends who've gone to Tanzania who say that they have a tram system that works. In fact, there's a document I've been reading. There's a book about, they call it smart cities. So they choose about 30 of the best examples of cities that work. Tanzania's Dar es Salaam was part. And I think 10 years ago, they had a tram system that works. Transportation is more organized, Meanwhile, they've had Magafuli, they've had all kinds of people that we've been ridiculing from here. So I think sometimes the values thing is strong. The values conversation is strong. It's not to be trivialized. The issue around Ghanaians, they like money. We are selfish. And there's no love for country. Remember 10 years ago, 11 years ago, we had to send $3 million to footballers to play for us. You remember? We had to carry it in a plane. That was evidence that love for country is not there. Because you are playing for your country as a footballer, you are saying, if you don't pay me cash, I won't play. Such embarrassment. And I don't think we've learned from it. I think it's even probably gotten worse. That people don't really think Ghana is worth dying for. Which is a problem, right? So, maybe she's right though. Maybe she's right. Maybe she's right, but I don't know. Ghanaians, let's talk. When we open the phone lines and say, hey, what is wrong with Ghana? Or what has the government done wrong? People will call plenty. When we say, hey, Ghanaians, you are the problem. In fact, last week, Thursday, this is the last thing I'll say, and I'll take some announcement. Last week, Thursday, I went to a lecture. The lecture was delivered by Professor Justice Bawole. Professor Justice Bawole is the Dean of the Business School of the University of Ghana. And he is, his story really touched me. He said his father had 5 wives and had, I think, 30 children. And he was the only child who was taken to school. Oh. Can you imagine? And he's become a professor.
Beautiful.
Can you imagine? He said his father had 30 children or so. I don't remember the number. But then there were like 5 wives. And his mother, for some reason, took him to school. Mm-hmm. So he's the only person among his siblings who's been educated. And as God will have it, he's educated to the PhD level. He's now a professor. Oh. And then he gave a lecture. Let me look for the title of the lecture. Because his argument was also about values. He said the problem we cannot solve corruption in Ghana is not because we don't have the right programs. He's basically saying that we have a mindset values problem. The title of his where is this thing? Somebody should send it to me. Good. Inaugural lecture, Professor Justice Bawole. Our corruption, our ethics, our public administration, semicolon, wicked citizens, wicked problems, and stagnating development.
You have it. Maybe you should play some of it.
Yes, I have the audio.
Because it would seem, the way it's succinctly captured.
He actually gave a scenario.
So he said what?
Wicked citizens, wicked problems, and stagnating development. And he gave a very good example of, he says when he does an ethics class, he asks his citizens, you live at Kaswa, and you are paid 1,500 cedis. You work at Ministry of Roads. Then there's a competitive bid for contract for a road project. Your wife is nagging you. School fees problems are approaching. Then there are 10 people who have been shortlisted for the road contract. The night before the award of the contract, you have to do an opinion on the contracts to inform your boss on which one is best. one of the contractors calls you and says, bro, he's hot. He needs his contract. And that here's, I think, if $10,000 or something.
Manage yourself in a meter.
Yeah. Then he asks the question, would you take it? That's question one. If, and then he has like six or 7 different questions on whether you take it or not. And he was surprised the number of people said they would take the money because of their need. So his point was that this corruption thing is more a value. So he said, I wrote it down. It says Ghana's development challenge is, what did he even say? It's a values problem or something. I'll get the audio for you. You know. And when he's finished talking, I was like, Charlie, this guy, he's really said something. Eh? He said, our development challenge is an ethical challenge. I think that's what he said. He said, our development challenge.
The stagnation we see.
Yes, it's an ethical challenge. It's an ethical challenge. I'm not saying it in the same words. Mm-hmm. But I'll get the audio for you. So compare what this lady is saying about Tanzania and how she feels they love their country. They are proud to be Tanzanians. And they are more conscious of each other's needs. And then compares that to Ghana where it's money. You know. I don't know whether he's right. And now, so I'll get you part of that audio. But let me not get ahead of myself. Fred, I'll send you the link to find this thing for me. All right. But I really think, you see, Ghanaians, let's be honest about it. Do we have a problem with values? Is our development problem a values problem? And he focused on citizens. He said citizens themselves and what they value is what determines where we are. People are not honest. People can't tell the truth. People lie a lot. People steal. They don't. You know, so that those kind of things. So I don't know. Let me let it be there for 5 minutes so that I do a few things. All right. And then I'll take your comments on this. But Ghanaians, let's talk about this, so please. It's important. I wanted to read a few more comments on the Tanzania matter.
Yeah, there are a number of them that have come. So, for instance, this one says, good morning, Bernard and team. I was in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania for just 5 days. And I must say that what the texter sent in is absolutely true. It is not an understatement. Let us support the reset agenda. I'm confident that together we will get there. It's coming in from Albert, who is listening to us in Adentan. This one says, Bernard, is simple. We have leadership crisis. There's no working system to reward good values and punish bad values. We reward the rich and bully the poor. So what does this breed? Citizens who want to be rich at all costs. That's the problem. More comments coming in. This one says, hello, Bernard and team. I agree with the texter. Ghanaians have attitudinal problem. Mentally, we are not straightforward. Really? Look back at all the developed countries. In a way, the basis was autocracy to drum into the citizens a level of discipline and self-control. And as we know, this will pass on to future generations. I think we have to prioritize money over values. Or I think you are saying
I
that
think we
have prioritized. That's what you want to say. It's coming in from BB in Pram Pram. And this one says, good morning, Bernard and team. Please, I think the comments from the Ghanaian in Tanzania are apt. Indisciplined people produce indisciplined leaders. Please go to 3 Junction here, Amasaman, and see how indisciplined the people are becoming. They walk over the walkways and the pavement created for the pedestrian. Cocoa sellers, momo vendors, Okada riders, and bread sellers are applying their trays on the pavement, pushing pedestrians to walk on the congested street. The municipal assembly must clear them from the pavements. It's coming in from Daniel in La. And this one says, I'm Kennedy, listening to you from Boteman. I am a living testimony to the story from Dar es Salaam. In fact, I got back just last week from Dar es Salaam.
Okay.
All that the lady mentioned, absolutely true. I was actually amazed at their hospitality and respect for humanity. Clean streets and lighting all over at night. And I begin to wonder how backward we
Here's one
be.
more. It says, good morning, guys. To add to it, you realize that Tanzanians don't like really to travel. They love living in their country. They are not rich too. We, on the other hand, go everywhere, but we don't bring any values back home. I tell you, Charlie, the thing they finish with.
I think we should moderate the comments because some of them are very, very sweeping. People bring things somewhere. It's difficult. You can't.
But I think the person is saying, but Ghanaians travel. I'll tell you why. When I was in the UK, in most places I go, I meet Nigerians and Ghanaians. Those are the two groups of sub-Saharan Africans who are really outside in the US, in the UK, and in Europe. So I think the point he's making is that our elite and middle class travel a lot. So you'd think that they will learn from best practice. He's saying that the average Tanzanian may not have traveled that much. All right. So our travel should mean that we are more globally exposed and therefore we are able to bring back some of the values into our governance and our life. That's what he's saying. That's not to say that... No, Pascal, let's be honest about it. We are an indisciplined bunch. And the values... Look, when we are pressed, and I'll play you the Baole voice. Sky, when I listen to that thing, I asked myself, I wondered what it would take for country to change. Because Sky, the culture of a place is also
what the people allow.
Not even that. Somebody gave it in a sentence. It's like it's almost like what you do to belong. It's like, you see, there's a certain way we behave that makes us okay. Anything. So basically, the behavior of Ghanaians collectively is what produces what we are seeing. Do you understand? Like he was talking about trotro stations, even the way people build, the construction. Like 2 days ago, somebody sent Caleb a message about some place in Ghana South where people are building in the middle of a road, and when you go and report, the authority rather goes to Chuk. Like there's a whole lot of people. See, people don't respect each other. People are selfish, and people are lawless. I think that's what it is. And because for them, if they can make money, it's okay. So people who call out this type of people, they are not really liked. You get it? It's I don't know. I don't know how to put it. It's Sky.
Yes.
We compare, like, go to Accra and see where people sell and where people buy. Some of it is not just survival. It's also lack of respect for other people's. You know, it's not just a question of I have to survive, but you are doing it in spite of somebody else's inconvenience. So it's not a question of Ghanaians are not the poorest people in the world. It's almost like we have imbibed a certain mindset that once it will help me, it doesn't matter what happens to somebody else. Once I can get away with it, it's okay. Okay, and I don't know the name to give that type of attitude. It's insidious, and also we don't speak the truth. It's like you meet people and they are all trying to be. I don't know how to put it. Like, okay, let me. Foreigners tell me that when they come and meet a Ghanaian and come and say, okay, I want to do something, the Ghanaian will never say no.
Yes.
He will just listen to you and say, oh, okay, but he won't do it. That's like, he will not say no, we can't do it. He will say, okay, that's nice. Okay, give me your number. Oh, okay, that's fine. Okay.
Like to be frontal.
Yeah, it's like we are. The person says we are not, and he believes that that's a sign of lack of honesty. I don't know.
No, you should say
people don't like to be told the truth.
My difficulty is.
Oh, you can, but you know, even in science, you generalize on the basis of. You can use a certain population and say, generally speaking. We cannot say all. See, let's not get into that.
Because it makes it unfair to people who are doing their best.
Even scientists have done studies. Hofstede, he's done studies on behaviors, where he's done things like power distance and things, where he can group 152 countries and say, on a scale of 0 to 20, these countries are 19. He didn't say he talked to everybody in the country. That's just how science works. So I feel like if you go there, then I can't even have an argument. What we are saying is that generally speaking,
so
in our attitudes, in even our proverbs,
no.
Some of the things we're telling me about the tree, if you push the tree, something, all the inside. Something about pushing tree.
Bernard, some messages have come through. Good morning, Bernard.
Yes.
It is very true that discipline in this country is too much. It's only in this country called Ghana that a driver can stop in the middle of the road and buy puff puff, aka togbe, wait and take his or her change and drive on again. The funny country we call Ghana. Kwame from DC sent that. Charles from Tema says, I've been to Uganda, Kenya, Sierra Leone and Liberia. I can tell you that on average, East Africans are more honest than West Africans, but on average in West Africa, Ghanaians are the least honest and patriotic people. Oh, Charles. Charles finished free. We lack values. We lack values. That's why she's saying Ghanaians don't love their country. Why would you lay your life down for your country when the likelihood is that the sacrifice you are making is highly going to be wasted? If we are principled and have integrity and our systems work, we will see that more Ghanaians will be willing to go the lengths for the country because they know that some good will come out of it. We need to change our mentality and see beyond ourselves. Deborah sent that from Spintex. Thank you, Deborah. Good morning, team.
Morning.
We need we indeed reward bad behavior. Those who drive on the shoulders when there is traffic get away, while those who want to do the right thing are frustrated.
All right.
Good morning, Bernard. I still believe leadership is the key thing. If people are punished for the wrong they do, the values will come. There are bad people everywhere, but leadership shapes society. The leaders here have no values. How much more ordinary citizens? Prince from Airport sent that. I am losing my patriotism as a citizen. Bernard, why should I break my back for Ghana and then immediately there's a change in government? I am targeted, heckled, and abused. Every government appointee is our appointment is not necessarily a political appointment. We unfortunately do not appreciate that. We are blinded by politics, and this has eaten away our values and ethics. We uphold evil if it's in our interest. It's a sad reality. Afua sent that from Amam from. Corruption in Ghana has been institutionalized in every sector. Politicians are just used as scapegoats. I come from the north, and the training we had was to learn the hard way to make it in life. But upon coming to the south 5 years ago, I can tell you that corruption is seen as a normal day's business. I did a course with the university here in the eastern region, and to my surprise, my supervisor will call me early in the morning and mostly on weekends for money to buy tea or beer before he can go through my work. What? Meanwhile, during my master's degree at UDS, I never experienced this.
Is that motivation or
Rank
what?
from
Facilitation fee.
Let's hear a couple of voice notes that came through on this subject. So people are divided. I can say a large majority of listeners agree with my listener who sent this from Tanzania, that compared to Ghana, Tanzanians appear to be more patriotic, they are more disciplined, and the country is better organized. But let's hear some voice notes to corroborate and some debating this.
The value system and how we think about everything is the problem. Every challenge is seen from a money-making perspective, even in cases where you do not need money to solve it. Most of the solutions in Ghana are very projectized with the object of making money. So you see ministries, departments, and agencies fighting among themselves over projects. If individuals go for meetings, all they care about is making money for themselves and those sort of things. So I agree with you perfectly that the value system is the fundamental problem. If that is not solved, Bernard, we can bring the Singaporeans, the British, Americans, Japanese, and things will still be the same. That's my take on this.
Charlie, Bernard, I beg, this one, dear, I disagree with the Dar es Salaam message. Dar es Salaam, I've been in Dar es Salaam a couple of times. In fact, the last time I was in Dar es Salaam, I spent about 2 to 3 weeks at a conference. I was in a conference, but I was also doing a bit of movement around Dar es Salaam township. Charlie, I could share photos with you, photos of myself and my team members going through their Nima-like and Mamobi-like areas. Charlie. This one, we shouldn't be finishing ourselves like that every time as if Ghana, we are not doing anything at all. Sure.
All right, so the Jews are there. Let me take you to Professor Justice Bawale, who delivered a very, very interesting lecture exactly a week ago today, his inaugural lecture on the issue of corruption. And I'm going to give you the title again. It's nicely titled. He calls it, just a minute.
While you do that.
No, I have it. Okay. Our corruption, our ethics, our public administration, wicked citizens, wicked problems, and stagnating development. This is his inaugural lecture. He said, wicked citizens, wicked problems, and stagnating development. So let's listen to some highlights of that particular one.
So as you can see, we have stagnated. But let me share with you something that caught up with me very early in the years when I got appointed as a lecturer. I studied and was assigned to teach ethics. And I fell in love with it. Whilst I looked for cases that I could engage my students with, I designed a very simple hypothetical case. In this case, I built a story around a typical civil service employee or public servant. The story goes like, you are an assistant to the chief director. The chief director has oversight over procurement. The chief director has assigned you responsibilities for the past 5 years to pre-evaluate contract documents. That every contractor you had actually pre-evaluated and put number one won the contract. Madam Chair, your salary is 300 cedis at the time in 2008. You lived in Kaswa and struggled with Trotro. Your father had died and you were looking for money to perform a befitting funeral. Your son needed to go to school and you must find the money. Your wife's birthday was up and you needed to produce the cash. Your HR officer had called you to warn you that because you live in Kaswa, you come to work late, you will get transferred to Yeji. A contract comes up for award. Your boss calls you and hands over the document to you and says to you, please do this quickly, Monday we will meet. On Saturday morning, a contractor you know very well comes to see you in your house. Young man, you know me, I have capacity to deliver this project. But I know that there are equally competent contractors. But I need this job. I have here, and the contract is worth $10 million. I have here $50,000 and keys to cars that I bought for my son, who never used it because he went abroad. Please take this as my commitment to the deal. And that if you do the right things, we shall celebrate afterwards. And then he hands over the envelope to you. Madam Chair, once we read this case in class, I would typically ask the students, and typically this will be prior to discussing the topic on gifts and bribes. So the students will be asked to discuss whether or not this is a gift or a bribe. In most instances since 2008, about 99% of the students will say this is not a gift. And then the first question, I have 10 questions following this. Would you accept the gift? And the results is what you see, Madam Chair. So once they agree, the question is, would you accept the gift? 55.6% of the students say, yes, we would accept the gift. Then I said the next question, if you were sure that this is not a setup, in other words, gift way, fine, it's very, very clean. Will you or will you not take? The percentage goes up to 58.7%. Then I introduce a constraint. If you were not sure, it looks like this is Anas or Manasseh Azuri. Will you or will you not? The percentage drops to 29.4. If your salary was higher than 300, perhaps 5,000, percentage drops to 35.7. If you could get a loan from the bank to finance the constraints that you currently face, percentage is 35.7. If you were sure that an anti-corruption agency will find you out, would you 16.5% say yes, they will? Madam Chair, one of the young men asked me an intriguing question in class. He says, "Sir, did you say the money was $10 million? I said, yes. Did you say that the man brought $5,000, $50,000? I said, yes. I said, Papa, you need $3 million, Papa. And then he asked me the follow-up question. Sir, do you make 1 million in a year? I said, no. He says, okay, if I take 1 million from this project and they jail me 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years, I could still come back and enjoy the loot, huh? Then he said to me in slangs, "Say you're wild, you're wild. I did you Now look at it. We said if you were sure that when caught you will get jailed, 13% says yes, we will take the bribe. Now, but what is intriguing to me is that when I put the question, if you know your boss has been accepting such gifts, would you also accept? 51.5% of the people say, if my boss has been accepting, I will accept. So if you are here and you are a boss, like I am at the business school, over my colleagues, my behavior has significant implications for what others do. Then I pose a religious question. If you were not religious and you were sure that there was no heaven anywhere, would you accept the gift? 58% say yes, if there was no heaven. And if they were not religious, they would accept. And the reason why our religious institutions would have to play a critical role, and thank you, Chair, when we ask the question, would you, in a situation like this, consider shame as a barrier? 39.4% of the people says, yes, they will consider shame as a barrier. But a significant number, almost 60% of the people say, no, shame is not a barrier. In other words, you can do what you want to do. Madam Chair, the role of leadership is critical, and our study on public sector leadership, subordinate ethical diffusion conundrum actually outlines how leadership plays a critical role in the ethical and moral temperature of the organization. It's estimated that, and you can look at the next study. In that study, we engage business people to establish the extent to which corruption actually hurts their businesses. And a significant number of business people tell us that most times they are forced by necessity to play ball, and that if you did not, you would not survive.
Excerpts of Professor Justice Baoli's almost 1.5 hour lecture. His argument is that the values are the real cause of development. So if you say a country is to develop, to have a good life or better life for citizens, it's really a values question, an ethics question. And his point comes back to the original texter around Tanzania. And again, I'm not trying to round down Ghana, but I feel like sometimes we need to look in the mirror and say there are aspects of our values we need to work on if we are to develop as a country. So yeah, lots of comments coming through on this. I should say
so
lots. If you can read some for us.
There's one from Tony who is asking a question that on what basis do we think the average Tanzanian has not traveled as much as the Ghanaian? Typical Ghanaian mentality. There's a question you have.
Well, the texter says this person who sent that information has lived there and says that generally Ghanaians travel more. And I tend to agree, because from the evidence I have, when you go to other countries where a lot of Africans converge, and they do, in fact, I've seen data on Africans who live in different parts of the world. Consistently, Nigerians and Ghanaians far outpace every other group, except possibly Zimbabweans. So it's not just typical. We're actually using data to say this. So unless the person has contrary evidence, this is actually data-based. Ghanaians tend to be more present, particularly in the Western world, than the typical East African. All right. There are two comments here that I felt would help the discussion in relation to what Bernard. I listen to City FM every morning in Nairobi. Have also worked in Kenya over the last 3 years. Though we see protest, Kenya is far more developed than Ghana. Just like Tanzania, they are proud of their country. Good roads with 40-minute expressway. High-rise buildings all over. Again, the fintechs have blended so well with their financial institutions, so make life so easier to stay. Another one. Good morning, bro. I was seconded to Barclays, Tanzania. I was not excited going there because I thought it was less developed. But I was shocked when I got there. Truly, the roads were clean, transport was organized, plastics banned, and they used paper bags. Buildings were organized. Charlie, I could go on and on and on. These are people I know personally texting. Yeah. So you can read a few more.
Well, good morning, Honorable Bernard and team. That lecturer is 1 in 1,000. My lecturer would rather keep on reminding me of our meeting. Okay, Mamaga from Tema, I didn't get the last part. We do not have to rely on the values of people if we can enforce laws to make the act right, make the system work, and the people will have no choice but change for the better. Hello, Bernard, please. The person who says he came from the north and there is corruption here, mostly down south, is very wrong. Even here in the north, it's equally bad. There is a sense of entitlement and greed among my people here. Steve sends that from Tamale Saka, precisely. Hello, CBS. The core responsibility of leadership is to shape mindsets and drive behavioral change. A nation's people reflect their leaders, just as leaders reflect the people they serve. For meaningful change to happen, either the people must demand a shift in leadership or leaders must inspire a shift in the people's behavior. Many of the countries we admire today for good governance only got there after a bold and drastic change in leadership. Tanzania had Magafuli, remember, Adam from Adenta Sender through Papa Bernard. Ghanaians value going to church, but our attitudes often do not reflect this commitment in our daily activities. It's important for us to align our actions with our beliefs, demonstrating the values we cherish in our interactions with others and in our communities. By embodying the principles we learn in church, By embodying the principles we learn in church, we can foster a more compassionate and supportive society. God never helped those who failed to help themselves. DJ Nature sent that. Bernard, I am a Ghanaian and I study our character a lot. I think Ghanaians from the time of Kwame Nkrumah to the 90s were very good, hospitable and respectful, but the Ghanaian now is a hypocrite. John Abbott sent that from Sakumono. Bernard, Ghana's problems are deeply rooted in a lack of values and a sense of patriotism. How many mayors have led the Accra Metropolitan Assembly with the agenda of clearing our streets? Recently, the current mayor of Accra was on the streets clearing hawkers of pedestrian walkways to ease traffic on our roads. One woman publicly stated that her party is in power and that she should be allowed to sell there. That was when I gave up on our intellect as a country. Maybe there is some glimpse of hope in the upcoming generation with more education and open-mindedness. Daniel sent that from Koforidua. Bernard. It is clear that our major problem is no love for country. We live by the mantra, each man for himself, God for us all. Everyone is thinking about how to make much to insulate himself and his family from the brokenness of the country. I dare say that the way we have run our democracy has made it worse. The software must be changed intentionally through schools, movies, songs, and the use of social media. We can be so much better than we are now. Eric sent that from Dan Suman.
Comments?
I was recently sent to Guinea to provide technical assistance to their national laboratory, which functions similarly as FDA. Upon arrival, I needed to exchange some dollars to buy food, so I stepped out in search of a forex bureau. Fortunately, I heard a few guys speaking Tree along the way, and I approached them, glad to have found fellow Ghanaians. They offered help, or so I thought, only for me to discover the following week that they had shortchanged me by $20. It's disheartening to admit, but as Ghanaians, we seem to have lost our values. Even when we are outside our country, we cheat each other and still carry ourselves with pride as the gateway to Africa and the first sub-Saharan country to gain independence. Sadly, I've experienced the same behavior from Ghanaians in other countries too. We need a serious mindset shift. National pride means nothing if it's not backed by integrity. Alfred from Spintex Center.
Are you sure that was not for facilitation?
Oh, facilitation. Facilitating what?
Sometimes you
All
look
right.
Busera Bani.
Yes. Let's go on.
vibrant.
Busera Bani sent this from
Stop
Central
that.
Hill, and he says that we as Ghanaians are overly religious, but we are wicked. Let's look at the killings going on. Let's look at the profiteering in our markets. Let's look at how much a landlord or landlady wants to charge for rent. Let's look at the indiscipline on our roads. Let's look at the garbage on the streets. We simply preach values everywhere and practice vices everywhere. But just two examples for you, yeah? And I picked an Uber, and this guy, you know, when you don't put on the seatbelt, that beeping sound that comes, right? This is the second time this is happening. The thing kept beeping, and I was like, bro, what's happening? And he said, oh, it's the seatbelt. I was like, so why don't you put it on? He was not minding me, so I was now insisting, prevailing on him to put the seatbelt on. And the guy told me that, look, you have 10 minutes to get to your destination, I'll disembark you so I can continue.
Because you told him
yes,
to.
you can't come and disturb his peace of mind.
A boat driver.
I'm telling you.
Good morning. As you speak, there's a nice car with a man supposed to be a gentleman because he is in white shirt and tie. Amazingly listening to City and has parked right in a curve, dropping people off, but not bothered about anything around him.
Oh Lord.
And alone causing traffic. How selfish can one
You
be?
didn't give us his car number, his location, and things like that.
Let me
Shame
share a
on you.
message from,
Shame on
but this
you.
is on the scholarships. So this is from an ardent listener as well. Government scholarships should give priority to defined disciplines based on a clear national development strategy. For example, AI, automation, engineering, climate, green and blue economy. And he goes on to say it's wasteful for government scholarships to be granted for people to study HR, marketing, and the like. No high-level political appointee's child should benefit from government scholarship.
Okay. Few more comments on this issue coming through on our numbers.
All right, I like the controls he introduced, especially the salary and the access to alternative funds part. These led to a drop in acceptance of the bribe. A lot of the corruption we see and decry is the very low wages and structures that create the environment where it's nearly a necessity to have alternative income sources. Not condoning receiving bribes, but the solution must be holistic and tackle what makes these things attractive and must tackle what makes these things attractive to the point of seeming necessary. Jacob sent that from Oyarefa.
Let me read a final couple here before we move to something else. Here's another person lamenting attitudes. It says, good morning. As for values in Ghana, I don't know where we can find it, from home to school, church, work, etc. without any shame. I agree with the message. Unless we start from basics in our home. I've suffered this in my career. The latest is where my dad, who told me I should understand that I can't carry Ghana on my head. I was mocked by some colleagues in office in 2023 when I was awarded the integrity personality by a state-owned institution as internal auditor. Some of my colleagues looked me in the eye and said integrity doesn't bring money and that the award should have included cash. In fact, top management of the institution started frustrating me just because of that award. In my over 18 years in public service, I tell you, holding high values and fighting corruption, it's only God. I'm still suffering. This is from a listener in Adenta. Well, for me, I would simply say that we should just learn from other people, and then we should also link some of the stories we cover to these values things. So, for example, somebody sends me a photo of people in another country on a construction site, and almost everybody in the construction site is wearing a reflective cloth. These are the basic things that certain countries enforce that we allow. The issue about where people park. You'll be driving and somebody has done double parking. When you ask him, he'll just say, go to hell. So there's a lot of simple things that we should be looking at and admit that we need to change. All right. Somebody sent me a video of the Graphic Road and says for the past few years, a market has been developing near Daily Graphic. And every time it goes, it's getting worse. And yet the people cannot move. Or nobody wants to move them for whatever reason. So we allow a lot of things to get to a point where it becomes a national problem. And then we have to use brute force to solve it. It's also a values issue, right? 904 on the City Breakfast Show.